Hey there! What's this? I bought myself a burqha. I bought it online a few years ago. I was curious to know what it was like inside these things because Afghan women spend all of their time out of the house they spend underneath one of these. And I was like, what's it like to live inside one of those? Well, you really want to keep your teeth brushed because you're going to breathe your own breath. You're going to smell it all day. It's warm, it's stuffy, it's hard to see. It's hard to do things. But one of the advantages as a woman is you're really well hidden. I mean, nobody can see you. They can't see anything about you. You don't have to smile. You don't have to frown. You don't have to express yourself. You don't have to worry about where you're looking or where you're not looking. You don't have to worry about what you look like. I mean, skip the vanity, right? So I could see how a very shy woman or a timid woman might actually appreciate the thing. But generally, I'd say they're pretty freaking stuffy. So that's the Afghani one. Now, here's a look you're probably familiar with. It's kind of messy because I was in a hurry when I put it on. And there's not enough light. I'm awfully sorry. Let me fix that for you. Yeah, so here's a look you're probably used to, kind of looks Muslim, kind of looks Eastern European, kind of looks like an old European woman. Was often, scarves like this were often worn in Hollywood as well. Just, to keep the hair from getting mussed. Like, in the 50s, women would wear their scarves tied on their heads to keep their hair from getting mussed. So that's a scarf on your head. And then, of course, there's you remember the medieval nuns? They were always like, in medieval times, all the women dressed like this as soon as they were married. That was Christian. And in fact, you weren't allowed to go around with your head uncovered in old Christian times. So even if they weren't wearing a scarf around their whole selves, they at least were wearing one on their head. And to this day, there are still Christians who believe that women should have their heads covered whenever they go out of the house, or even all the time. And, if you've got hair lice, I see the point. But today's modern woman feels that her hair is the best head covering. The thing that's going on with this, though, is it's all scarves. And indeed, in winter, we Canadians really bundle up. I mean, by the time we're done with our hats and our scarves, all you see is our eyes. And sometimes, if it's very cold, we tuck the hat down, we bring the scarf up, and you really can't even see our eyes. And when we walk into a bank or a corner store, we pull the scarf down so as not to freak people out. So, now we come to this issue of Muslimas. That is the feminized term of a Muslim. There's a Muslim and a Muslima. A Muslima describes a woman who is a devout Muslim. Not a moderate Muslim, but a devout Muslim. Rather like a Christian woman who is devout enough to cover her hair when she goes to church and to go to church every Sunday and wear her necklines up high and wear a cross. And, as Christians, we're used to that. We're used to seeing the Amish, the Hutterites, the Mennonites, a number of different Christian sects where these people, the women most especially, have to wear special clothing. The Hutterites, they wear a scarf with all you see of their hair is a tiny little roll up at the top. Everything else is completely covered in scarves. 2 of them usually. All you see coming out of her hair is that little bit up at the top. Everything else is covered. And nobody thinks they're going to turn around and use it to be subversive or antisocial or terrorist or hurt people. No one worries about that. Somehow, though, and nobody talks about how oppressed these women are. It's like, oh, look at those poor Hutterite women. What if they want to walk around in a tank top and yoga pants and they're not allowed to? Oh, how awful. And yet we know they're allowed to, in the sense that if a young woman growing up in the Hutterite colony feels oppressed, she can leave her group when they come into town, walk up to just about anybody and say, help me please, I'm being abused, I'm being oppressed, I need escape. And someone is likely to help her escape. They're likely to hey, yeah, come with me. I'll get you to the whatever, and we'll get you on social services. We'll help you find a job, and we'll get you out of there. And then she can go dressing in yoga pants and tank tops, if that's her, inclination. So we don't feel like, we have to flip out on the men and women of the Hutterite communities for keeping their women oppressed. And we don't even talk about whether or not these women are oppressed. So why do we talk so much about Muslimas and how oppressed we feel they are? Our history is rich with evidence of women using scarves to indicate that they are devoutly religious and modest women. And there's, just like I shave my head to indicate that I'm nobody's victim. No, really, that's pretty much it. That, and when I was young and pretty, it kept the thirsty boys away because they didn't know what to make of me. It's a way of saying, watch out, I might be dangerous. Because I'm really not. Although, I don't know if I'm dangerous or not. I've managed to escape situations where I would have to try and be dangerous. Partly because I look dangerous. Tattoos, piercings, There's a tattoo of mine. I love this one. It's the rabbit in the moon and the man in the moon at the same time. This one is Ouroboros, the snake of wisdom. Normally he's seen grabbing his tail. But in this case, he's hanging out over my ear, all relaxed, and whispering the secrets of the universe to me. And one of the secrets is a devoutly religious person has the right to express that religion, that devotion, any way he or she sees fit, including peculiar clothing, covering up their faces, etc. So when you see a Muslima, and she's got her face covered in a niqab, let me see if I can do this for you briefly. I have to put this on over my head to make it work. So, let's cover there and there. Now, this is what you see of a Muslima in niqab. A niqabi, no, I can't remember the proper term. But these women cover themselves up to their eyes in Saudi Arabia. On the east side of my city, in fact, there's a whole group of women that will walk around in various assorted veils because they feel that their beauty is a private issue. And I sat and watched quite a few videos of women who have taken up the veil when they didn't have to, because they took up Islam by choice. Women raised in the West who have decided through love or reason that Islam is a religion they appreciate and that they want to express that by donning the veil. And they explained that they feel that they're more likely to be taken seriously in conversation with men because the men aren't being distracted by looking at a woman. And I think there's some merit to that, because I remember one time sitting and visiting. I was at my boyfriend's house, and a friend of his came over, and his friend was a little drunk and was getting violently angry with me for sitting on the couch. I wasn't even talking. I had given up. I mean, there was no talking with this guy. It was just one series of rants after another, triggered by, anything like that, and he would go off again. So I had given up trying to talk, and I think my boyfriend was still trying to reason with him. But the thing that this guy started doing was pointing at me and accusing me of using pussy politics to oppress him. That just by sitting there, I was deliberately trying to influence and oppress him with my beauty, with my looks, with my body. I mean, I was just wearing a t-shirt and shorts. I wasn't dressed seductively. I wasn't, I had no more makeup than I do right now. My hair was pretty much the same as it is right now, maybe a little pinker. I had a 25-year-old face, so I was cute. But there really wasn't anything about me that you could say, oh, she's out to hook a man. But he would not shut up. And I started by putting a blanket over my shoulders because I thought, well, he thinks that I'm being seductive, I'll cover my shoulders. He slowed down a little, but he still kept going. And then I put the blanket over my head. And there I was, with this blanket thrown over me, I just love having props for a change. This blanket's hung over me like this. And he still kept going off on these tangents of pussy politics and feminism, feminazis, and men's liberation. And so finally, I pulled the blanket down over my face. And this was all you could see of me. Magically, he calmed down and stopped talking about it. At that point, though, my boyfriend kicked him out of the house because he'd been entirely too rude and insulting, and we'd all had enough. But this was the thing. He couldn't get over the fact that there was a woman sitting in the room long enough to get his brain engaged. And so this is the thing that a lot of Muslims say, that men are, now I don't believe it's true, but that men are not able to control their own sex drive. So women have to take steps to help the men steer clear of their sex drive. Now, I think that's absurd. I've known plenty of men who are quite capable of controlling their sex drive. They're used to it being there. They understand what it is. It's like somebody who fasts being able to withstand their hunger. And it's training. You train your young men to get used to seeing beautiful women and not being able to go all thirsty all over them. I love that term, thirsty. It's somehow nicer than horny, which is what we used to say when I was young. And I'm an old woman now. I don't have to worry about men's thirst. I like it that way. I really do. Every once in a while, you know, when I dress up nice and you know, feeling my beauty, I'll get a reaction. But then they see my face, and their face just falls. It's like, oh crap, that's an old woman. Why does she got to dress like a young woman? It's funny and it's sad, and mostly I'm just glad I don't have to deal with it, because it's really a nuisance. And so when I was wearing that, I've already, the niqab, no, not the niqab, I've already forgotten, the burqha. I was wearing that burqha. I was thinking, as a young woman, it would actually be nice to have social permission to don this thing, to go out and do stuff when I just don't want to deal with the men. And I was able to appreciate a little bit of why Muslim women might want to wear these things once in a while. What you've got to do is start realizing that these are women under there. Not gun-toting, violent monsters who want to kill you and your family, or take your jobs, and they're not victims either. That's not to say all Muslim women aren't victims, but I mean, you know, because they're Muslim or something. A woman may be a victim regardless of what culture or race or religion she's a member of. There's plenty of Christian victims. There's plenty of atheist victims of bullying. Plenty of women walking around with black eyes who don't wear a veil to hide it. In fact, I saw one at the grocery store recently, and I wanted so much to reach out and comfort her, and yet there was no way. I couldn't do anything to help her. I didn't know her. I couldn't even open the subject with her or start a conversation with her. There was nothing but two women passing, one seeing the other's pain and having no power. So I think that, you know, if you're really worried about these Muslimas and their veils, stop banning their veils. Stop telling them, back into the shadows, you can't dress like that in public. Stop that nonsense. Start providing better financial security for the poor, better financial security for women, better environmental and social situations for women. Give them the power to walk out of that house one day and know that there's somewhere to go, somewhere to get help. That's how you free these women. They free themselves when they have alternatives, when they have options. A woman in an abusive marriage, whether she's covered in a veil or she's wearing a tank top and yoga pants, is trapped by the lack of choices out there outside of her house. She's got no support anymore because through shame, through embarrassment, and through just pure oppression of the man, she has let them all go, or they have walked away unable to help her. One or the other. She's alone. She has needs. She needs to pay the bills. She needs to care for those that she's responsible for, whether they're pets or children, it doesn't matter. She loves them. and she wants them well, and she's not going to leave them in care of the monster with nobody to protect them. So if you want to help Muslim women, stop oppressing them yourselves. When you put a ban on veils, when you treat someone like crap because she's wearing a veil, you're just adding to the oppression that keeps her oppressed. When you give her permission to dress however she wants, including covering up or uncovering, at the beach, at the mall, at her job, when you give her permission and you honor and respect her, you give her the dignity she needs to stand up and speak for herself and fight for herself and free herself. Muslims are just another variant of the same God that spawned Jews and Christians, and in the same Old Testament is the same edict to cover yourselves up if you're a woman. They all come from Moses, for crying out loud. Abraham and Moses, telling women that they should be covered. And if anything, I think that was to help keep the dust and dirt from the desert off of them. I mean, that to me, that and insulation from the extreme heat, I think it was a cultural thing that got women covered in the first place. It helped them keep their hair clean. It helped them keep their skin clean. It helped them stay nice. And the men covered up just as much in some cases. You know, they're wearing veils too in a lot of cases. Especially when the weather gets bad. You see them pull that scarf over their face against the dust storms. Just like northern people will often wear a lot of covering against the weather. And yet, when it becomes a cultural institution, somehow everybody who's not part of that culture wants to have attitudes about it and opinions of it. And, you know, banning the veil. Please, stop that. Stop it! You know, I was in the hospital, and the woman who came in to clean our room, I gotta say, the cleaners of that hospital are crap. I mean, they do a lousy job. Well, she comes in and she starts wiping down the beds the way she's been told to do. She's supposed to wipe down the grab bars, wipe down the tables, wipe down the room. My roommate, a man, starts giving her hell. I mean, he's just like, get out of here with that. Oh, I don't like that stinky stuff. Get that stinky crap off my bed. And I was like, you know, she's disinfecting your bed, you ass. I didn't say that. I just said, hey, she's cleaning. Leave her alone. Oh, he grumbled. They don't do a very good job cleaning. Oh, you know, and I says, listen, she's just a cleaner. I've been a cleaner. Quit pestering her. And I kind of knew that he was on her because she was Muslim, not because of what she was doing. But he lost his temper at being opposed by me and feeling grumbly about this woman wearing a veil. And he left the room. So I looked at her, man, huh? What are you going to do? And she smiled and said, man. I said, it's okay, you know. Thank you so much for cleaning our room. It's just, I really, really don't need to catch a cold or anything. And I really appreciate that you're cleaning. And, oh, you know, I've got some dirt on this thing. Could really use a good scrub. Any chance you could take a look at the bathroom? It's been a bit rough. And I just, you know, and I says, you know, and I was a cleaner for 10 years. And people just don't say thanks enough. She did the best cleaning job in that room anyone's ever done because I was nice to her. I always say thank you to cleaners. But I also always smile at immigrants and foreigners because these people appreciate it. And it puts a friendlier face on their new country. They have gone through so much to get here. My parents were immigrants. They hardly went through even close to what these new people are going through. They're coming out of Aleppo with the bombs and they're going through deadly, dangerous circumstances, fasting, starving, thirsting, hungry, sore feet, blisters, losing everything they love, everything they have, just to get here. And then people treat them like that while they're doing their minimum wage, crappy job. I mean, do you think cleaning in a hospital is a nice job? No, you got to be desperate to do that job. It's bad wages and a lousy job, and you get jerks like that treating you like crap. So, you know, stop banning the veil. Stop looking at Muslims as enemies. The people who were raised with a religion and told that that was the way to be good people. And they're doing what they were taught is right. And you need to treat them with dignity and respect and show them that they're welcome to be themselves and express themselves however that expression comes through. Whether they one day decide to shave their heads and dye their hair pink, or they decide to stay in a burqa all the days. Good to each other out there.